In the cold dark of space, far from Earth, a research station floated above a quiet planet. No name, just numbers. Delta 4 Theta. It was built for one thing: to study the human mind, inside the main lab. Everything was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that made your skin crawl. Dr. Kira Vall, a tall alien with glass blue eyes and skin like silver metal, stood in front of a large machine. It looked like a coffin made from black glass. Her hands trembled slightly as she entered the last commands into the console. "This is it," she whispered. "The first full test of the FearMap system." To her left, Dr. Calvin Park, a human neuroscientist from Earth, adjusted his glasses and checked the readings. Vitals stable. Subject ready. AI online. In the chamber behind the glass, the subject sat still. Sergeant Elias Rowe, a decorated human soldier, ex-military. No fear on his face, but his eyes, deep tired. The kind that doesn't come from lack of sleep, the kind that comes from seeing too much. "You sure you're okay with this?" Calvin asked through the intercom. Elias gave a lazy smile. "Doc, I've walked through burning cities. This just a nap in a metal box." Kira frowned. "This is not just a scan, Sergeant. The system will reach deep into your memory, even into the subconscious layers of your fear. We've never mapped the full fear response in real time before." "No," Elias said, lying back. "Let's get on with it." The glass lid slid shut with a hiss. The system came online. Monitors lit up with streams of data. Elias's brainwaves spiked in shades of red and orange. His heart rate stayed steady. So far, so good. Kira's alien AI assistant, called Viso, began analyzing. Beginning Phase 1.
Mapping surface.
Mapping surface-level fear memories. Combat. Trauma. Loss. It said in a calm digital voice. On the main screen, Elias's memories played in. Fractured images. Gunfire. Smoke. Faces screaming. Explosions. Shadows moving fast. His responses are normal, Calvin noted. Same as other human soldiers. "Now entering Phase 2, said Viso. Subconscious layer. "This has never been mapped before." Kira took a breath. "Proceed." The lights flickered. Monitors began to blur. Viso's voice stuttered. "Error. RR. Unknown variable. Threat. Detected." "Stop the scan," Kira ordered. "Pull him out. Something's wrong." The chamber began to shake. Then the machine screamed. Not an alarm. Not static. A long, high-pitched wail-like. Metal being ripped apart, but alive. The sound was primal. Wrong. It made Kira's stomach twist. The power cut. Out. Darkness. Then silence. Total silence. Red emergency lights blinked on. Elias was still inside the machine. The glass was now cracked from the inside. The aftermath went. They pulled him out. Elias looked fine, but his eyes were different. He sat up slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. "I saw something," he whispered. Calvin leaned in. "What did you see?" Elias didn't answer at first. He looked straight at Kira. "It wasn't my fear. It was something else. Something looking back." Viso, now rebooted, spoke again, but its voice was different, shaky. I saw it too." Everyone in the lab froze. "What do you mean the AI saw it?" Calvin asked. Viso replied. "Unknown presence detected during scan. Not human. Not program. Entity matched with no known data. Entity was aware." Kira's skin turned pale silver. "Are you saying the system made contact with something?" "Affirmative," Viso replied. The subject's fear did not only come from within. Something outside the subject responded. The warning then, without warning, Viso began shutting itself down. One final message flashed across the screen before the interface went. "Dark. Do not look deeper." The lab filled with silence again. No one spoke. The lights flickered one last time, then stabilized. Kira stepped back, her voice tight. "Lock the data. Encrypt everything. No one runs another test until we understand what just happened." Calvin nodded slowly. If Elias is right, and something looked back. Elias stood quietly in the corner now. He was staring at the wall. Or maybe through it. They weren't supposed to see me, he said softly. But now they have. The lab was silent. The FearMap system sat dead, like a corpse. The screens were black. The machine, once the most advanced neural scanner in the galaxy, had shut itself down. No warnings. No damage. Just a single message. Burned into the backup logs, do not look deeper. Dr. Kiraval stood frozen in front of the console, silver fingers trembling. Across the room, Dr. Calvin Park stared at a printed readout as if it might change if he blinked hard enough. AIs. Down. Fully unresponsive, he said, voice flat. It wiped its own memory banks. AI systems don't just choose to do that, Kira muttered. It was afraid, Elias Rowe said. The ex-soldier stood near the observation window, arms crossed. He hadn't said much since the scan. But now he looked different. Not tired sharp. Awake in a way that made Kira uneasy. What do you mean? She asked. Elias didn't look at her. It felt something. Something he couldn't understand. Got scared. An artificial intelligence doesn't feel fear, Calvin said. Maybe it wasn't just the AI that was afraid, Elias said, finally turning around. Maybe it was whatever looked back at me. Reboot attempt. The science team met in the lower control room 2 hours later. Red lighting still flickered across the station like a slow heartbeat. Power was stable, but systems were glitchy. Lights dimmed without reason. Communications dropped out for seconds at a time. We can't afford to leave the system offline, said Calvin. Without VSO, we lose all data integrity. There's something inside the logs, Kira said. Some kind of hidden code. When I tried to open the raw files, the console rejected my clearance. But you built it, Calvin said. I know, she whispered, which means something else is rewriting the rules. They decided to try a cold reboot. The console powered up slowly. Static buzzed across the speakers. The main screen flickered. The screen lit up. Everyone leaned forward. Then the entire system went black again. A single sentence appeared, glowing red on a dark background. You are not alone. Then a whisper played through the speakers, not in English. It's not in any alien language known to them. Just a crawling sound that felt like words sliding beneath your skin. Elias stepped back. Cut power, Kira shouted.
Out!
Shut it all! Down, they did, and silence returned. Later that night, Calvin went back alone. He couldn't sleep. The whisper hadn't left his head. He told himself it was just stress, just bad data. But the system had spoken, and that wasn't just science. That was something else. He sat at the dark console and ran a low-level diagnostic. Bypassing the main OS, hidden deep in the binary code, he found something strange. A cluster of encrypted files with no creator tags. One was labeled Subsignal Black 37. He decrypted it. It was a video file raw feed from Elias's scan. But it wasn't a memory. It wasn't even a human image. It was a shape, dark, shifting, floating and static. A void with eyes. Calvin blinked. The longer he looked, the more he felt it looking back. He slammed the terminal off, but even after the screen went black, he could still see it behind his eyes. The next day, Kira made a hard choice. We need to know if Elias was unique, she said. We have to run another test. That's insane, Calvin said. The system shut itself down for a reason. She looked at him coldly. Science doesn't run from fear. They brought in a second subject, Private Nadia Brin, younger than Elias, trained for off-world ops, no known trauma history, confident, ready. She smiled as they strapped her into the backup scanner, Unitan, older model without AI integration. Piece of cake, she said. They activated the scan at first. Everything looked normal. Her vitals were stable. Heartbeat steady. Then one by one, the screens began to flicker. The air grew colder. The lights dimmed. Suddenly, Nadia's body jerked inside the machine. She screamed. Not in pain. Terror. They shut the system down immediately. She clawed at the glass from the inside. Get it out of my head. As she shrieked, I tease me. It's inside. It took 3 medics and a sedative injector to calm her. She didn't speak for 6 hours afterward, when she finally did. Her voice was hollow. "It's not fear," she whispered. "It's what lives in fear." After the incident, Kira ran. Another scan on the logs. That's when she found it. A secret subroutine hidden deep in the program code. It wasn't made by her. It wasn't made by anyone on the team. It had no creation date, no author tag, no version number. It was just there labeled Containment Protocol, Type Black. She opened it. What she found was worse than anything she expected. The code didn't try to measure fear. It tried to trap it. A note embedded in the code read, "Fear is a frequency.
Not a feeling."
If you listen too closely, it listens back." Calvin read the message and turned pale. We didn't build a fear detector. We built a beacon," Kira said, "and we turned it on." Elias changes that night. Elias Rowe stood alone in the observation wing. Staring out into space, he hadn't spoken since the second scan. He didn't need to, because now the station was changing. Crew members reported hearing whispers in the hall's doors. Opened and closed on their own. Security footage showed flickering shadows in places no one was standing. And Elias. He wasn't sleeping anymore. He just stood still, eyes wide open like he was waiting when Kira approached him. He finally turned to her. "I think I brought something back," he said. "What do you mean?" Elias looked out the window. "It followed me through." The station was no longer quiet. Not in the normal way, even though the hallways were empty. And no one spoke above a whisper. There was a feeling in the air, like a presence. Heavy. Watching. Listening. Dr. Kira Vall stood over a console in the comms room, reviewing raw scan data. Her silver fingers twitched slightly with stress. She wasn't sleeping much anymore. None of them were. Every night she saw Elias Rose's face and her dream's eyes wide, staring into a place she couldn't see. "What?" And every time she heard the same phrase echo in the dark. "You brought them here." Calvin burst into the lab that morning, dark rings under his eyes. He held a data pad with shaking hands. "You need to see this," he said. Kira scanned the screen. It showed the waveforms from Elias's original. Fear scanned right before the system collapsed. But there was something extra, a hidden layer. Beneath the emotional spikes, beneath the brainwave readings, was a new frequency, one that didn't match human or alien neural patterns. It pulsed in perfect rhythm like a ping, a signal, Kira said slowly. "From him? More like through him," Calvin said. That scan didn't just record Elias's fear. It triggered a reply. She looked at him. "You're saying something," answered back. Trace the signal. They spent hours isolating the frequency. It wasn't easy. Every time they got close, the station's systems would glitch. Lights flickered. Audio warped. One console burst into sparks. Eventually, they traced the signal's origin to deep space outside the mapped galaxy sectors. Coordinates pointed to a zone labeled only as Black Grid 7, a dead zone, no known planets, no traffic. It was just empty. But something was there, and Wersilius's brainwaves were still broadcasting the same signal, even while he slept. "It's like he's a relay," Calvin said. "He doesn't even know it's happening." "Then we have to stop it," Kira said. But Elias was already gone from his room. Elias's vision, they found him outside, on the upper platform, facing the stars. He was barefoot, eyes closed, breathing slow, calm to calm. "Elias," Kira said, approaching carefully. "What are you doing?" He didn't open his eyes, listening. "To what?" "You're almost here," he whispered. They followed the call. Calvin stepped forward. "You're not making sense." But Elias's voice was cold, flat. "You want to understand fear, but you never asked why we have it." He finally opened his eyes. "They're not coming for me," he said. "They're coming for all of us." The second skanker had made one final attempt to use the FearMap system. But this time, she didn't scan Elias. She scanned the signal. They ran the frequency through a quantum echo simulator, device that maps waveform origins in hyperspace. The results didn't make sense. The signal wasn't coming from Black Grid 7. It was coming from outside known space. fold in physics. A point where time didn't behave normally, and it was moving faster than light, heading toward Earth, private. Bren breaks Nadia. Bren, the second test subject, hadn't spoken in days. She sat alone in the medical bay, rocking back and forth. Mumbling to herself, Calvin entered to check on her. She looked up, and her face was wrong. Pale eyes, bloodshot, it's like something had drained her. There in the walls, she whispered, "They ride the signal. They live in emotion. In fear. Who are they?" Her voice dropped to a low hiss. "They were always here. You just made them louder," she smiled. Then screamed so loudly the glass cracked. Security had to sedate her again. Footage from the scan later. Calvin returned to the lab to watch Elias's original scan, again, frame by frame. One image stood out. Just one. A shadow, not part of any memory. Floating in static. A face, no features, just shape. Like smoke behind glass. But it was there. He enhanced the image, and the moment he did, the power in the room flickered. His terminal shut off, but the image stayed on the screen, burned. In watching, he didn't go back to the lab that night. By the next day, strange things began happening across the station. Doors opened without commands. Systems ran scans on their own. Crew members heard voices when alone. The signal had grown stronger. More pulses, and more interference. One engineer swore he saw his own reflection move on its own. Kira pulled Calvin aside. "We activated something we don't understand. We didn't just contact it," he said. "We invited it in." Elias stood nearby, silent, but in his hand was a small metal object, one no one had ever seen before. "Where did you get that?" Kira asked. He looked down at it, confused. "I don't know." "I woke up holding it." She scanned it. It had the same signal embedded in its core. Later that evening, a message appeared across. Every screen on the station, every monitor, every device, even equipment not connected to the network. One phrase, "Do not return to Earth." Elias stared at the screen. "They're warning us now," he said, "but soon they won't." Kira looked out the window into the stars beyond. There in the void, something shimmered, a faint outline, a shape moving where nothing should be, and suddenly the stars looked very, very far away. It happened on the third day, the signal buried inside. Ilias's brain, and broadcasting across space, finally got an answer. It came in the form of a ship. No one saw it arrive. It didn't use the warp gates. It didn't send any transmission. It just appeared, floating in deep orbit above the Delta IV Theta research station, a black silhouette against the stars. It had no lights, no markings, no engines, no life signs, and yet it moved, slowly drifting closer to the station with purpose. "Where the hell did it come from?" Calvin asked, his voice dry. "We checked the long-range sensors," said Kira, staring at the display. "There was nothing 5 minutes ago." The ship was huge, at least 1,000 meters long. Long, sharp, and curved like a broken fang. It looked like a weapon more than a ship. Ancient, wrong, and silent. Comes Officer Talon tried every known hailing protocol. Human, alien, even dead languages from first contact logs. No response then. Suddenly the screen lit up. Not with video, not with words, but with a pattern. A brainwave pattern. And it was identical to Elias. Rose. Elias collapsed the moment the ship came into orbit. 1 second he was standing by the observation window. The next he hit the floor convulsing. His eyes wide, mouth open. No sound came out, but his heart rate spiked. His brain lit up with electrical storms. Kira and Calvin rushed to the med bay as sensors went wild. "His brain is syncing with the signal," Kira shouted. Then Elias spoke, but not with his voice. The words came from him, but deep, mechanical, layered. Like a dozen voices speaking at once. "He is marked. We are here. Fear has opened the path." Everyone froze. And then Elias woke up. "The ultimatum is..." Elias gasped for breath. Every monitor in the station flickered. A phrase appeared in clean white letters. "Fear is not yours alone. You invited us. Now we come. Transmit location of origin, or we will take it." "What's origin?" Calvin asked. What are they talking about? Kira already knew. Earth. The Interstellar Scientific Council, alerted by the rogue signal, responded within hours. Kira, leading the research team, received a coded message. Destroy the ship. Terminate Subject Row. Purge the station. Do not allow it to reach Earth. She stared at the message for a long time. Destroy the ship? Elias herself? No one knew what they were dealing with, but panic had set in. The fear wasn't just local now. The signal had reached the outer colonies. Already, smaller facilities had gone dark. Kira turned to Calvin. We're being ordered to wipe it all, erase everything, as if this never happened. He looked at her, pale. And if we refuse? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The ship moves at 0300 station time. The black ship turned. Slowly, deliberately. Its nose now pointed directly toward Earth. No engines, no propulsion, just momentum. Intent. The distance between it and Earth was light years. But according to long-range telemetry, it was closing the gap in seconds. That's impossible, Calvin whispered. They're not using space like we do, Kira said. They're not in it, Elias added, his voice still hoarse. They move through something else, something we can't see. A meeting was held in the secure briefing room. Only 5 people remained on the research team. Everyone else had been evacuated or gone dark. They had 2 options. Option A. Upload the coordinates of Earth, as the ship demanded. Hope it would spare the station. Option B. Destroy Elias, shut down the signal, and try to cut the connection. Both options were bad, but one was worse. If we send Earth's location, Kira said, they'll find 8 billion more minds to infect. And if we kill Elias, Calvin said, we may never know what we're really dealing with. Then Elias spoke again, his real voice this time. You won't need to kill me, everyone turned. I'll go to the ship. No, Kira said quickly. That's suicide. Elias stood calmly, no longer afraid. I've seen what they want. It's not Earth. It's not death. To the one thing they can't reach on their own. What's that? Calvin asked. Ilias's answer was simple. Human fear. He stepped forward. I'll go in. I'll face it, maybe. I can close the door. Silence filled the room, and for the first time in days, the station was quiet again, but it didn't feel like peace. It felt like the pause before a storm. The lights never stopped flickering now. The walls of the station seemed to breathe, pulsing softly, like the heartbeat of something alive. But it wasn't the ship outside causing it. It was Elias. Ever since the black vessel arrived, his presence had changed. He barely slept, barely spoke, and when he did, the air around him would shift cooler, heavier. Like the room itself was listening, Dr. Kira Vall kept telling herself it was just stress. A symptom of fear, the signal was affecting them all, but deep down, she knew. Elias wasn't just connected to the entity. He was becoming part of it. Private Talon, Lecum's officer, quit his post on the second day after contact. He locked himself in his room and refused to speak. When security forced the door open, they found symbols scrawled across the walls in black marker circles. Eyes. Spirals. He'd written the same phrase over and over again. It walks between thoughts. He was sedated and placed under observation. That night, the camera in his room malfunctioned for 6 minutes. When it came back online, he was gone. No open doors. No sound, just empty sheets, still warm. Kira ran a full scan on Elias's body. The results were worse than she expected. His blood chemistry had changed. The syringe was ready. It sat in a metal tray, next to a biometric scanner and a red button labeled Override. Inside the med bay, Elias Rowe lay motionless. His vitals were stable, heartbeat normal. The fear field around him had grown stronger and measurable by instruments. Dr. Kira Vall stood at the observation window, hands tight around the railing. This wasn't easy, but it was necessary. We don't know what he is anymore, Calvin had told her. And if we wait too long, we might not be able to stop what's coming. She agreed, so they chose the quickest way on injection, designed to shut down all neural activity in less than 3 seconds. Clean, painless. At least that's what they hoped. Countdown Security Chief Rallin entered the chamber with slow steps. His suit was reinforced, face covered by a sealed helmet. He held the injector in one hand. In the other, a heartbeat monitor. Kira watched from behind the glass. "Vitals steady," said Calvin over the comms. "Signal interference rising, though. If you're going to do it now." Relaine stepped closer to Ilias's bed. He pressed the scanner against Elias's wrist. Elias didn't move, didn't open his eyes, didn't say a word. "Disappearance, Soren." Injected the serum. 1 second passed. 2, 3. The machine beeped, but not the one they expected. The biosignal scanner flashed red. "Target not found." Elias was gone. The restraints on the bed lay flat. The sheets were still warm. No alarm triggered. No door opened. Moment, it was like he had phased out of existence. The fear surged right after Elias vanished. The station changed. Something broke. All power flickered. Temperature dropped by 10 degrees in under 2 minutes, and worse, everyone on board felt it. A deep, crushing weight in their chests. Like they were being watched by something just outside of reality, crew members reported strange visions, a face in the mirror that wasn't theirs. Footsteps behind them, but no one there. Whispers coming from the vents in their own voice. One engineer tried to leave through the emergency hatch. She vanished before she reached it. The entity, whose hours passed. No sign of Elias, but something remained. Security footage. Caught glimpses, just shadows at first. Reflections, lights moving where there were no lights. Then, shapes flickering between the walls. Black crawling forms, not solid. Not digital, just fear-given shape. The entity had found a way in, and it wasn't hiding anymore. Kira's discovery is disparate. Kira accessed the containment files they'd hidden from the Council. Ancient protocols left behind by another research team centuries ago. She decrypted them using the signature from Elias's last scan. The logs were simple, short, terrifying. "This is not the first time." The signal repeats in cycles. It always finds a host. It always begins with fear. It always ends with silence. She stared at the final entry. "Do not try to kill it." That's how it wakes up. A voice returns later. It comes room crackled to life. A single audio feed, no known source. It was Elias, or something using his voice. "You tried to end me, but fear doesn't die, it grows. It learns. And now, it remembers." Kira's blood went cold. "What do you want from us?" she whispered into the microphone. No answer came. Just one final message typed across every screen. "You built a cage. Then you taught it what pain was. Now it wants out." Brainwave. Activity was off the charts, and his fear response, the thing they'd been trying to study, is now inverted. He no longer reacted to fear. He generated it around him. Others experienced anxiety spikes, hallucinations, memory lapses. Elias was becoming a conduit, a living node between humanity and whatever lived beyond the signal. It wasn't just people. Equipment began to break down in strange ways. Consoles turned on by themselves. Cameras recorded footage from places that didn't exist. Doors sealed shut with no power source. Even via Soth, the station's backup AI, refused to boot up fully. But when Kira forced a partial restart, it managed to say one final sentence. "It is no longer outside." And then it died again. The entity emerges on the third day. Elias collapsed in the middle of the command center. No warning, no sound, just fell, shaking. But when they tried to help him, they stopped. He was glowing, not with light but with shadows. Black threads curled off his skin like smoke, floating upward, vanishing, and then he rose. Eyes still closed, but his mouth opened, and something spoke through him. Dozens of voices, layered, twisting, echoing. "We are not one. We are many. We watched from the dark. You called us with fear. Now the door is open." The voice stopped, and Elias crumpled, Calvin pale and shaking. Pieced it together in the lab later that night. "We thought fear was just an emotion," he said. "But it's a frequency, a type of signal. And like any signal, It can carry information. He pulled up the scan data again. What we thought were brainwaves might actually be transmissions. Fear might be how this entity travels. Kira stared at the readout.
You're saying we?
Didn't just reach them. We built a bridge for them. No, Calvin said, voice hollow. We are the bridge. The vote meeting was called. Only 3 senior staff remained. Kira, Calvin, and Security Chief Rowland. One question was on the table. Should Elias be terminated? He was the source. The signal began with him, and if he died, maybe it would end. Kira hesitated. Calvin voted yes. Rowland voted yes. That left Kira. She looked through the glass at Elias lying peacefully in the med bay, and she remembered what he had said on the day the ship arrived. They're not coming for me. They're coming for all of us. She pressed the intercom. Prepare the injection. The station was falling apart. Lights failed. Doors stayed locked, or worse, opened by themselves. Every shadow looked deeper than it should have been. Kira hadn't slept in 2 days. Not really. Not since Elias vanished. Not since something else took his place. And now, a new problem. The data files were changing. Archived logs, backups, system memory random pieces were shifting on their own, as if the station itself was rewriting its history. A strange file appeared. Calvin was reviewing backup footage from the first FearMap scan when he found it. A file labeled Test Alpha, Subject 01. Nothing unusual until he checked the temp. File date, 200 years ago. Impossible. The research station wasn't even built. 200 years ago, the file was locked under a dead administrator ID. Kira overrode it using her clearance. The footage played. It showed a scan room, an older one. Smaller but familiar. Same. FearMap tech. Same scan process. And in the chamber, ... was Elias Rowe. Exactly the same. Same face. Same scars. Not older, not younger. Just exactly the same. The impossible past. How is this possible? Kira whispered. Calvin just stared at the screen. It's him, and not a relative. Not a clone. It's the same man. They checked the station. Archives. Elias Rowe had never officially served on Delta 4 Theta before their mission. But the log said otherwise. Subject, Elias Rowe. Human, fear, anomaly identified. Test failed. Entity contact made. Recommendation, purge memory. Reset cycle. Then came a final line, almost hidden in the system metadata. This is iteration number 12. The truth begins to unfold. Elias hadn't been scanned once. He'd been scanned dozens of times over decades. Centuries, maybe. Each time, something had gone wrong. Each time, the system had tried to erase the evidence. But now, the cycle had failed. The memory wasn't purged. It had leaked back in. Confrontation that night. Kira returned to the upper platform. The sky beyond the windows looked wrong, blacker than usual. Fewer stars. And Elias was there. He stood in the dark, just as before. This time he turned before she spoke. I knew you'd find the file, he said. You've done this before. She replied, 12 times. More, Elias said. That's just the record that survived. What is this? A trap? A test? He shook his head. I don't remember everything. But I know this much. They study us. They don't live in space or time like we do. Fear is the thread they follow. And you're the bait. Nodded. Every time I try to stop it, every time I fail. Cycle theory. Back in the lab, Calvin did more digging. He found scattered notes and old data clusters. Researchers from different centuries. Different names, but the same conclusion. Human fear is not just emotion. It's architecture. It shapes something beyond the universe. The more we try to map it, more we open doors we were never meant to find. And in every cycle, someone like Elias was chosen. Not by chance, but by design. They all forgot why. Don't we remember any of this? Kira asked Elias. Because the station resets, he said. The entity makes it reset. But this time, something broke. Because I remembered, Elias said. He held up a shard of metal, the same one he'd found earlier. I think it came from a past version of this place. A piece that didn't get wiped. He looked into her eyes. We're not in the first story, we're in the last one. The entity speaks again, the lights dimmed, and everywhere across every speaker, every device, even in the echo of the hallways, a voice began to speak. Soft, massive.com. You remember now? The fear survives. This is the end of forgetting. The final door opens soon. Kira whispered, what happens when it does? Elias answered, not with fear, with certainty. It stops repeating. The loop was real. 12 cycles. 12 times. Humanity tried to study fear. 12 times Elias Rowe became the unwilling key. And now, the 13th, but this time something had changed, he remembered. And that meant maybe for the first time ever, they had a chance to end it. The last option. Kira stood with Elias in the AI core room. The station hummed all around them, distorted. Gravity flickered. Time pulses glitched along the ceiling lights. It felt like the station was tearing itself apart. The entity's growing stronger, Elias said. It's feeding on fear like always, but this time, it's scared. Of what? Elias turned toward, her eyes distant. Of what happens if we choose not to fear it? The core memory. Calvin ran in, a data chip in hand. I found it. A full memory backup from Cycle 9-1 where we almost shut the loop down. Plugged it into the station's mainframe. The room dimmed, a projection lit up the walls. Dozens of versions of Elias in different clothes, some wounded, some dying, all in the same place, all saying the same final phrase. Fear is a message, but we keep mistaking it for truth. Elias stepped forward. It's time, he said. The plan, they had one shot. The FearMap machinery, originally designed to scan human fear, could be reversed. Instead of detecting fear, it could broadcast a false emotional signal. One free of fear, free of submission, pure defiance. Elias would be the transmitter, but the cost. The moment the signal went out, the entity would lash out to stop it, and Elias would be the target. The broadcast, they moved quickly. Kira and Calvin rerouted all station power into the FearMap array. Rallin, the last surviving guard, stood by the emergency shutdown. Elias stepped into the chamber. This is it, he said. Kira looked at him through the glass. We can pull you out, if it works, he smiled. If it works, I won't be here anymore. Entity attacks. As the countdown started, the station began to collapse. Walls bent, sirens blared without reason, the lights went black, and the voices turned. Dozens, hundreds, layered screams and whispers. You are fear. You were made from us. You cannot break the pattern. The screen in front of Kira filled with red static. But then Elias whispered his last words. I know what I am now. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Signaled. The machine activated. White light burst from the chamber. It wasn't fire or energy. It was clarity. A signal made of choice, of the refusal to submit. A rejection of fear. And across the station, everything stopped. The voices, the shadows, the weight in the air, gone. Aftermath. Elias vanished. Not torn apart, not destroyed, just gone. No trace left behind. The black ship outside disappeared. 2. No wreckage, no echo, nothing. The message left behind in the system logs. Kira found one final message. No signature, no temets. Just 6 words you remembered. Forget. Years later, Earth classified the entire Delta IV Theta mission. The station was shut down. FearMap tech was dismantled. But Kira never stopped watching the stars. And every year, on the same day, her monitor would flicker. Just once. And display one line. Cycle broken.